Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Andrew King, Chief Innovation Officer here at Rand Group, and I'm so excited this morning to have Ron here with me, Ron Rand, CEO at Rand Group, my boss now, actually, to co-host this keynote for everybody. So again, welcome to our virtual conference, Dynamics Futures, the Next Era of Business, and Ron and I are going to be chatting this morning, as well as then invite Bryan Goode from Microsoft for the keynote as well. So obviously, first and foremost, welcome. This is our first conference that we've done with the two companies together, so we're super excited about that. And first, we're going to talk about introductions a little bit because for both organizations, we've got clients and prospective customers and fans out there that are joining us from both organizations. So a little bit of an intro, as well as what is this conference and what are we all doing here? Then we're going to go through the agenda. We have tons of sessions lined up across the Microsoft ecosystem, so we're super excited about that. And Ron and I are going to chat a little bit because, of course, AI is, well, what everybody's talking about these days. So we're going to chat a little bit about that in business transformation, and then we're going to close off and move on to our other keynote speaker, Bryan Goode from Microsoft. So, Ron, great doing this with you, our first time together. So if you wouldn't mind for the gang, little introduction to yourself.
Sure, I'd be happy to, Andy. It's great to be with you this morning. Very much looking forward to our conference today. So very exciting as you shared, the team's coming together and super excited about this conference we're doing today. So a little bit about me. So I'm the founder of Rand Group. Started that business in 2003. Did start with Microsoft and going way back to another life. We started with Great Plains, and so that is our legacy and our history. But we've evolved as Microsoft has evolved, and today the business is really comprehensive of most of the business app platform that Microsoft offers with our BC business, a CE business, an F&O business, or finance and supply chain management business today, as well as software development and quite a bit of work with Power Platform and analytics.
Yeah, and I'm Andrew King. I was managing director at WebSan. I'm now chief innovation officer. This is my boss, so I have a boss now. But yeah, no, we're super excited about bringing the two organizations together. WebSan traditionally heavy Business Central. We also got our start in Great Plains back in 2000. You can see I'm actually wearing the Business Central logo because we were mainly Business Central focused back in the day. But now, as part of Rand Group, we also focus on a lot of other things as well. So Ron, if you wouldn't mind, as you alluded to, and I did as well, these two organizations coming together, maybe for our mutual audience, give a little bit of insight as to what our strategy is with both these organizations now.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. There's a tremendous, I think, power that we're going to be able to bring to our clients by working together. It's going to give us broader geographic footprint, broader geographic presence, ability to serve clients that have multi-geography needs and really support their businesses across North America. Also, I think it brings a lot more combined resourcing together. Some of the things Rand Group was very good at, WebSan fills in some of the things that we maybe weren't as good at. And so the power of those two organizations coming together in terms of services and expanded capabilities is going to give us a more complete and comprehensive offer to really bring value into that client base. So we'll be able to work with our clients across some of the things that you've been very good at WebSan with some of the IP that you've developed with your emerging technologies team, doing some work with AI, and sort of at the forefront, something we're going to talk a little bit later about in our time together today, some of the things that are happening there. So it's really going to put us in a position to innovate, which is, as you've alluded to, the Chief Innovation Officer. And while we're on record here with you, establishing that I'm your boss, that is not how I think of this. I think we're more colleagues and working together as
Oh, right.
partners
Sorry. Yes,
in
that's
this
appropriate.
business. But very exciting about some of those capabilities meshing. I think Rand Group has done a really good job at driving business results and being very successful in working with clients in their ERP implementations and their CE implementations. Very focused on more of a business acumen kind of approach to driving out business value and achieving those outcomes that businesses are after, the clients are working towards. But now we're able to sort of combine and fill in some of the places where the organization was working towards, but this is certainly going to accelerate our ability to have a really more comprehensive and complete offering across a broader set of geographies.
Yeah, and you and I had known each other prior to this, prior to us joining the groups together as well, and it's a really good fit fundamentally with WebSan focused on the SMB side on the Business Central side, and then bringing that all together with the additional horsepower on the Rand Group side. It's an exciting combination for sure. So we're happy to be part of it. And like I said earlier about this conference as well, bringing both of our customer bases and prospect bases together into an exciting time. So we're super enthusiastic about things. So what is this conference? We've done it a few years now on the WebSend side. It's first time including Rand Group, obviously, and we've got a huge lineup of additional workshops, as Ron alluded to. So really, this is an opportunity for us to really explore the entire Microsoft ecosystem. So what are the innovations and dynamics that are shaping the future, both on the ERP and customer engagement side? Definitely with Bryan presenting here shortly, what is Microsoft's roadmap, and also including some of the latest product updates, both on the customer engagement and ERP side of things. We will be demonstrating in various sessions real life examples of Copilot, both on ERP and CE side of things. And we really want you to leave today with an idea of where, like the name sort of alludes to, where Microsoft is heading, and where Microsoft is investing. Microsoft's a fairly large company, right? They tend to create their own gravity, sometimes whether we like it or not. And obviously, Copilot, agents, AI is really where the world is headed. So how is that going to shape the future of all of our experience in both ERP and customer engagement, and quite frankly, the way that we work every day? So let's take a quick look at the agenda. As Ron, you alluded to, there's a lot here now. We've got multiple different tracks, whereas, traditionally maybe we'd have a couple. Now we've got numerous ones. So I'm not going to run through all of this because we've always been pushing this on social media, et cetera, quite a bit. But we have a lot of speakers from all of our different organizational elements here, around Business Central, obviously, Dynamics 365 sales. We're now doing project operations with, like I said, the additional horsepower from the Rand Group side, and very excited about everything that we're doing on the customer engagement side too. Again, finance and operations are now called finance and supply chain, if you will. Also field service, and obviously GP to BC migrations is still, a pretty tenable subject that we talk about a lot with clients that are still on-prem. So we've got a wide variety of speakers today, and again, super excited to have you guys with us for all of these various tracks. Sorry, as we continue customer service, Copilot AI, we are doing specific things in Copilot AI as well. And as Ron alluded to, not only do we have a lot of apps on AppSource together, but we also have a lot of AI workshops that we're working through with customers. And there are a couple of sessions where we speak specifically about some exciting projects that we're doing with customers on AI. So highly encourage you guys to check that out. So let's talk a little bit, Ron, just you and I here, about AI and business transformation. How do we really see AI affecting not only the way that we work, the way that customers work, but also the way in which we bring solutions to our customers?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. So it's a great topic, and it's a topic that's on, I suspect, just about everybody's mind that'll be joining the conference today. Is, what's the reach and how's AI evolving, and just kind of where are we sort of on this journey? And so I think the way that we've kind of approached this, both internally, but also how we're beginning to approach it with our clients, is kind of a moving in phases and steps, and trying to keep AI, specifically Copilot AI, in an approach that's very business case driven, and looking for places where AI can enable certain processes or relieve certain functions that might be more repetitive or labor intensive, but not necessarily the highest value add. So we leaned into some of the work that you've done at WebSand, and are running a company-wide initiative today that takes us across sort of main pillars in the company about how we market to our prospects, how we operate sales, but also how we work with our clients on service delivery, how we provide project services, how we provide support, and even in software development, some of the things that we're doing there. So I think all of that works together to help us really move faster, and working on the more high value add things that are important to clients as they look to do projects, look to get the value out of their investments in Dynamics 365 and the Microsoft ecosystem they're investing in. and we become really better partners in working with them by using the technology in a way that moves us faster and onto higher value tasks.
Yeah, and you mentioned, like you said, higher value and business case based. I think you and I visited a client in Florida not too long ago where when we spoke to them initially about AI, the fact that we were talking in those terms, real life business cases, real application, no, I'll call it shiny objects for lack of a better term. They were quite skeptical about AI. And when we talked in those real terms, I think the attitude changed quite a bit because we were able to show real life, real impact applications of AI. And there's been so much marketing and so much hoopla about AI. People are really seeking those meaty, real life scenarios that really make a difference. And I think that's what, like you said, we're kind of centering on, right?
Yeah, we've all kind of had the chat GPT experience, which ends with another, instead of you prompting it, it's prompting you for the next thing that
Yeah.
you want to come up with, right? So I think that there is sort of a certain amount of confusion about how do you apply that in certain business scenarios. So, practical examples, a big push where AI is making a big difference, where Copilot's making a big difference, is around document preparation and
Hmm.
the drafting of documents, but we've approached it not in a way that ends in another question. We've approached it in a way that ends in output that's very focused, and is in the using of Copilot Studio and our development team. We're able to take a meeting recap and turn it into more than a meeting recap. We turn it into action items. We now move that into Planner. And from there, we now have a system that's actually sort of driving work, as opposed to having what we would typically do, say 2 years ago, have this meeting and we would have to recap that meeting. And sometimes action items might get lost. Sometimes decisions that maybe should have been made weren't made like we thought they were made, or maybe some decisions were made that we didn't think were made. So these are places where we can use Copilot plugged into an overall workflow and a process to now we spend our time actually looking at the decision and the content, and not a bunch of time preparing the meeting minutes themselves.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's made a big difference in how we operate daily, and quite honestly, the clients that are really taking to this like a duck to water, so to speak. It's also changed their lives for sure. So we will continue to work with our customers, mutual our collective customers, and find those golden nuggets of opportunity for sure. So Ron, you made a really good point there around Copilot in the development community, right? We've done a lot with GitHub Copilot, ironically, and it also works in DevOps for those of you wondering. Yeah, we've done a lot to not only develop code and kind of trial things a little bit faster than we normally would have, but one interesting nuance is, if someone's working on something and say they weren't the original author of it, Copilot is able to read the code, not only optimize the code, but give the new developer a summary of what has already been built. So they can just dive right in rather than having to read up on what the heck it did or dissect the code or review it. And that saved, quite honestly, clients a lot of money, saved us a lot of money and time. So that's just one simple example of leveraging Copilot. And I know, Ron, there are a lot of other places we've internally also leveraged it, right?
Yeah, that definitely. And to that point about documentation around the development, one of our ongoing challenges in software development is the actual release notes and the ability to understand the functional implications and aspects. So it's always been a big challenge, and Copilot's making a big difference here in terms of sustaining the life cycle. And a lot of us have a hard time remembering, me included, what I had for lunch last week. So thinking about what we built last year, and now that we're coming back to it to make some changes, so this is a big value impact. It's not only time saver, but it's a big value driver in terms of the software development process and the things that are part of the overall software development lifecycle. But kind of to what you're also sharing, we can look to other cases around customer service.
Hmm.
So both Websand and Rand Group have long-term relationships as part of our underlying sort of business culture, to have long-term relationships with our clients, become a business partner with our clients, and support's a big part of that relationship. And we've kind of always had the ability to do things like email to case and create a support case off of an email. But that's a very rigid process, and it's a process that works, but it's different than, say, what we're able to achieve with Copilot and some of the things that Andy has done and the Websend team have done kind of can really point to how you can use AI to change a rigid process into more of a contextually aware process, a process that is more aware of everyday conversation using natural language processing and natural language understanding. You're able to really have sentiment-based kind of case creation and routing. So it's able to identify when there is a real escalation need, something that's more urgent, and speed that escalation and even speed the triage, the ability to surface knowledge-based articles based on that and move us faster and more rapidly towards case resolution is a real benefit. It's a real value to the client base. We can get the answers and the right answer to them faster and quicker than say what we could have done 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah, and to your point, we both have long-standing history with hundreds and hundreds of customers, and being able to, whether it be a new employee or an employee in a different area or what have you, being able for the to have the co-pilot look back on historical cases, knowledge-based articles, et cetera, to prompt them right there in the moment on what might be the recommended answer, even if the input of the resolution came from another customer experience the same type of thing 3 years ago or what have you. That's game changing and has been for us. And to your point, it has had a material impact on our ability to help customers, keep them happier, answer their questions quicker, et cetera, and save everybody money and time for sure.
And it's also been helpful when you get to that last mile and communicating back to the client. Our ability to actually use Copilot to help craft that communication in a more maybe diligent way. I mean, especially if we're rushing to get something in front of a client, a quick run through Copilot can help organize that message, where sometimes as we're moving quickly, something might get sort of lost in that translation, that communication. So it really can enable and empower more of the full process. But
go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I know we've got a full day, so this is a subject I could go on at great length on. So
you and I both.
But it's very impactful to say the least.
Yeah, and we have a lot of substance on this subject today for sure. But like I said, and like I alluded to, that client we visited in Florida, everybody with all the hype going on, people are skeptical, right? And there's only so many shiny objects you can pay attention to. But when we show up and talk in real life terms about how it's sort of we're eating our own dog food and we're using it internally and then demonstrating that capability to customers, it resonates really, really well. And so we're constantly seeking for these opportunities with customers to find these little golden nuggets of opportunity and pilot them and kind of prove out the case, and then hopefully obviously deploy it at scale. But yeah, super exciting time to find these real life scenarios that really impact business for sure.
Absolutely.
So that being said, stick around all day, because as you've seen in the past, for those of you that attended, we do have prizes at the end, and they are only drawn at the end, and you have to be in attendance to receive them. So yes, that will take place at the end of today, where we'll announce the winners for participating. And thank you again for being part of our user conference this year. So we're going to hear from Bryan Goode here in a second, but before we do, Ron, any parting words for our audience?
Yeah, super excited that everyone's able to join us today for this. We're very thrilled about the opportunity to bring this content to you. Hopefully find it very useful and helpful. And if there's anything that comes out of this that we can follow up on, that a question didn't get answered, please reach out to us.
Cool. And again, everybody, thanks for joining us. And for you, those keen on paying attention to videos, you will notice that I am wearing a different shirt in Bryan's interview because, yes, it was shot at a different time. So I just want to beat you to the punch on that one. But anyway, super excited to have Bryan joining us. He's the CVP for Business Applications and Agents at Microsoft, and we're going to do an interview with him next. So stay tuned and welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Hey everybody, sorry to interrupt real quick before we turn things over to Bryan, but this is literally breaking news. Want to let you know that Rand Group has won the America's Partner of the Year award for Emerging Channel Partner. So that's massive news. We're so excited and thrilled that we achieved this. Over 2,100 partners throughout North America applied, and we won. So it highlights the massive impact that we've had on the channel and on our partnership with Microsoft. And in the past, this has really indicated consistent innovation We've heard that word a couple times today. Customer commitment and consistent delivery of inclusive and sustainable solutions, which, as you know, Rand Group has some serious intellectual property around oil and gas and energy as well. And so, yeah, as a new combined entity, we are super excited that we won this award. And apologize for the interruption just before Bryan's keynote, but wanted to get this out there today. And so thank you again for all of your support and for attending today. And now, without further ado, I will turn it over to Bryan Goode for the keynote presentation. Thank you, everybody. So thank you, everyone. I am so thrilled that all of you are here joining us for our Dynamics Futures conference, and I'm even more excited to introduce our keynote speaker, Bryan Goode, CVP of Business Applications and Agents from Microsoft. Bryan, thank you so much for being here, and I turn it over to you, my friend.
That's great. Andrew, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate everybody for hearing our perspective here. My name is Bryan Goode. I lead the Business Applications and Agents team at Microsoft. I joined Microsoft in 2003, and I've been part of some pretty big transitions and transformations for the business. The move from on-premise to the cloud, the launch of collaboration with things like Microsoft Teams, but nothing is as revolutionary as what we're going through right now with the rise of AI. And it's transforming every one of our work days. It's changing our companies. It's reshaping industries. And so it's an exciting time to be here, and I'm excited for our partnership together. So what I'd love to tell you a little bit about is what I describe as a big idea. And that big idea is what I call intelligence on tap. Now, if you think about intelligence, it used to be pretty scarce. It used to be expensive, hard to obtain. But now, with the rise of AI, intelligence is abundant, it's affordable, it's infinitely scalable. You want more of it? We can give it to you. It's on demand. It's becoming a little bit like a commodity, like electricity. And as I said, it is going to completely change the way we do business. And it's really an exciting time. Now, it's not just an idea. It is an idea, but it's not just an idea. It's something that folks are actually embracing in practice. We've seen a 64% increase in business leaders using AI every single day. We know that 8 out of 10 of you are planning to deploy agents into your workplaces in the next 12 to 18 months. So this is something that's really happening. We worked with a third-party firm, IDC in this case, to project the number of agents that will be in the workplace, and they expect over a billion agents by 2028. That's remarkable. 2028 is only 3 years away, and we're going to have a billion of these things in the workforce in just that short amount of time. So it's really an exciting moment with intelligence on tap coming into the workplace, and it's going to be quite transformative. Well, we don't have to wait until 2028 to start to experience that. We have coined a term that we call the frontier firm. And you can think about these frontier firms as companies that are putting AI really into the heart of their business. They're transforming the employee experience, the way they engage customers, the way they handle business process, the way they innovate. And these frontier firms are really companies that we can study and understand, like how they're using AI and how they're being effective with AI, so that the rest of us can replicate those themes and those trends. And I'll tell you, as I've studied these frontier firms, there's really like 3 patterns that really rise to the surface. And these are ways they're using AI to drive strong benefit. The first is they're deploying AI for personal productivity. They're giving every employee an AI assistant to help them be more successful and be more productive in their normal workday. That's kind of table stakes. Increasingly, I even see an opportunity for where employees may not want to join a company if they don't have an AI assistant that they can use. A little bit like it seems archaic to imagine there would have been a time when, I wouldn't have gotten a PC or a laptop when I joined a company. It's a little bit of that same paradigm shift where, now there's classes of employees who, if they don't have an AI assistant in the workplace, they either won't come or they'll bring their own. Either of those two things are suboptimal. The second pattern for these frontier firms is what I call process improvement. They take their existing processes and they look for ways to deploy AI into that process to either speed it up or take out costs or maybe both. So they don't reshape things per se. They just take the existing processes and look for ways to speed them up and take out costs. But then the third pattern is where these companies can unlock a lot of value, and it's quite transformative. I call it functional transformation. And the way to think about this is really reimagining a function altogether by deploying AI to solve an outcome. And so it really just reimagines it all. Where pattern two is about taking something existing and kind of using AI to make it a little better. Three is like just fundamentally reshaping with AI. Now, these frontier firms, as ambitious as they are, even they can only do a few of these transformation projects at a time, these functional transformation projects at a time. And I advise customers to do the same, like pick one or two, maybe pick customer service or sales or, sort of your finance processes here. But these are the three core patterns that I see as I study these frontier firms. And I think there's something we can all take from that inside Microsoft and then, inside each of your companies. Now, I mentioned Microsoft, and we want to be a partner on this journey to the frontier, and we've got a complete toolkit of products and capabilities to help customers on their way. It starts for us with Microsoft 365 Copilot. That's our AI assistant. We think every employee should have a Copilot in their workplace. We layer into that this idea of agents, and we have both pre-built agents that are already packaged up so you can get started quickly, as well as the ability for you to build your own agents. And then finally, apps. Some people have forgotten how important apps are, but we believe apps are an important ingredient in this overall toolkit for the frontier. And of course, Dynamics 365 plays a massive role, as does Power Platform, Power Apps, Power Automate, et cetera, as part of this app paradigm. So we've got this complete set of tools for the frontier. Now, I'll spend just a second on each of these kind of layers. I'll start with Copilot. You've probably heard a lot from Microsoft about Microsoft 365 Copilot, but one thing that customers often ask me is like, what sets you apart? Like, what is it that sets Copilot apart? And I often say, look, we're not a model maker. Like, it's not really the job that Microsoft's in today. We don't build a bunch of large language models for the most part. But what we do is we partner with the labs, the LLM providers, to bring those models into the workplace and put them to work for you in a way that's safe for work. A couple examples of that, of course, we've worked for a long time with OpenAI. We sim shipped GPT-5 on the same day that GPT-5 was available from OpenAI. A few weeks back, we announced a partnership with Anthropic, where we bring models from Claude into Microsoft 365 Copilot to give customers choice and give them additional powers that they were looking for. And so I think that's a great example of what we do. We work with the different model providers, we bring them together, and we make them safe for you in a package that works in your workplace. Now, I also talked some about agents, that next layer. And when I think about agents, and if there's going to be 1 billion of these things running around in the next few years, they're not monolithic. There's really going to be a spectrum of these things, from the very simple agents that are grounded on a particular bit of knowledge, all the way to the very sophisticated autonomous agents that in some ways act as workers or employees. And you can pull on these agents to do different jobs within your company. And you can expect this quite the spectrum of these agents over time. And to address that need, Microsoft, of course, has this full stack of agent capabilities. It starts with the data platform with Microsoft Fabric. We've got a pro code set of capabilities with Azure AI Foundry. Those can be connected into Copilot Studio, which is a low and no code tool to help you build, manage, and deploy agents in your organization. And then, of course, Microsoft 365 Copilot, which we'll often describe as the UI for AI, or the way that most of us will actually engage with agents throughout our workday. Now, for that final layer that I talked about these the importance of applications. And I sometimes refer to these as agentic business applications because the applications that we all know and love over the last 20 some years are really changing in a pretty fundamental way. For example, these agentic business applications in Dynamics 365 all now come with intelligent experiences. So as humans, we're able to, open up our sales solution or finance solution and have our AI assistant right there grounded in the context of what we're trying to do. Maybe it's updating a CRM record or preparing for a customer conversation, or we need help with a particular invoice. That AI assistant is integrated deeply into the application itself. Next up, an agentic business application, of course, as the name would suggest, has agents preloaded into it so that you can actually get work done and take away some of the drudgery. You don't want to update a record? Great. Let the agent handle it for you. You don't want to go do a bunch of qualification activities? Great. Let the agent handle it for you. That's the power of an agentic business application. And then finally, agentic business applications are grounded on a data store that really extends beyond just the application itself. Imagine what you can do if you have an understanding of who inside your company has been talking to a customer in addition to what's in the CRM, as one example. These are the three things that really differentiate an agentic business application from the application of yesterday. And I think is one of the things that makes Dynamic 365 really special right now. Now, I talked a bit about some of the pre-built applications that we've included as part of Dynamics 365. This is just a taste of those that we have available, but you can see they really run the gamut. Things from our sales qualification agent, which is part of Dynamics 365 Sales, to our customer knowledge management or case management agents, which are included in our service solutions, all the way into the account reconciliation and financial reconciliation agents that are included in our finance applications. So there's a wealth of these things. This is not the universe. Think of this as a great way to get started and to motivate the art of the possible. And then you can start with these and customize to your heart's content. It's a great platform to get started. Now, moving beyond the technology, customers usually ask me, Bryan, how do I get started? I'm eager to go on this journey. I see the value. I want to transform. Where do I go? And I often share this roadmap. And the gist of this is it's a little bit like an onion. You really want to start with a function and then peel it back until you get to the business process. And then even then you want to peel it back a little bit more till you get to the metrics that you really want to impact. So if you take this approach, starting with a function, go to the business process, then go to the metrics that you want to measure, you can really apply AI in a very thoughtful, precise way, get value from it, and then you can start to kind of build on that momentum. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. So this kind of function by function approach is really critical. And it's definitely something I recommend to all of my customers. And in fact, at Microsoft, we have a saying that we eat our own dog food, which basically means we use our own tools and we use our own practices. And as we've done that here, as we've taken the same approach inside Microsoft, we've seen some pretty dramatic results. For example, in our sales team, we've seen revenue per head grow by almost 10% in certain teams. Think about that. That's like giving a seller an extra month in a year without adding an hour to their day. Or in our marketing team, we added an agent to our public website, and we saw over 20% increase in conversion rates. That's a little bit like turning 5 clicks into 6, you know. Our legal team was able to save 5% of their spend, and so on and so forth. So the value we've seen by using this toolkit and applying it in this very sort of thoughtful, precise way has been a pretty significant value unlock for us and for a number of our customers. And maybe that takes me just to my final slide or two. And I'll just say, look, I know it's a confusing time. Like the pace of change isn't slowing down. If anything, it's accelerating. And I know a lot of you are already on your way, but many of you probably are still trying to figure out where to get started. But the reality is the longer you wait, the further you're going to fall behind. And so if I want to leave you with just one thought, it's really this. Identify one process for transformation, whether it's sales or service or finance or IT or HR, wherever it may be. Pick that one. It's the first step to this frontier. Because really what I found, I talked about my learnings from the frontier organizations. Here's the real one I learned. That the difference between a frontier firm and everybody else is not magic. It's behavior. It's picking one thing, getting started, and going on that journey. So with that in mind, I just want to say thank you again for your time. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to share this with you, and of course the partnership. And just want to say thanks. Feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn or via email. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bryan. That was there's a lot there, right? And I think, as a Microsoft partner, we obviously find technology is changing so rapidly, and this whole universe is changing so quickly. Sometimes it's tough for us to keep up, and for sure our customers, our mutual customers as well. So appreciate you painting that picture. Do have a few follow-up questions for you, of course, if we have
Sounds
some time.
great.
So you talk about intelligence on tap, right? From a practical perspective, what does that really mean for businesses today in your mind?
Yeah, well, it's a big idea, and sometimes though it can be manifested as something even very simple, which is for me. Let me just give you an example. The other day, I was interested in doing a research project. I had to understand the total addressable market, or the TAM, for a new category that we were thinking about entering in. In the past, the way I would have done that is I would have gone to consultants, or I would have hired a research firm. They would have gone and done a bunch of research. They would have looked at primary sources and probably talked to some customers and some secondary sources and compiled it all up into a pretty thing that they sent back to me, and it would cost me over $100,000. I can almost guarantee you. That's an example of the old way. Mm-hmm. In this new world, I was able to use a researcher agent that I called on actually late at night one night. I gave it a task. It went out, it crawled the web, it looked on Reddit, it looked everywhere I needed. It brought it all back. It took about 20 minutes, but it came back with a really concise sort of report that was just as good as what I would have gotten before. Oh, wow. And that didn't cost me a dime outside of my subscription, basically, for the Copilot in my case. That to me is a perfect encapsulation of kind of the world we're moving from, and then the world we're moving into.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Switching subjects a little bit, you talked a lot about agents, and one of the conversations we get in with customers is what's the difference between autonomous agents versus just automation? So do you mind speaking to that a little bit? Because when we look at what clients are starting to engage in, there is a significant difference between those two concepts for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I come back to those sort of three patterns that I talked about in the frontier firm, and I'd say there's certainly an opportunity to automate an existing business process and use AI for that. And look, we might even call that an agent, and there's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, though, that's just taking existing automation capabilities, maybe with some AI reasoning, and being able to do it a little bit better. Now, to be clear, that can be powerful. We all know, those of us who've used RPA in the past, we all know how fragile that has been. Something changes on a screen and all of a sudden the automation breaks and it doesn't work. Now, AI can actually help us reason over some of those things and improve the accuracy rates greatly. That's how I think of kind of automation getting enriched with AI in this new
Mhm.
world. On the other hand, I think about autonomous agents as really, in some ways, being able to do that and then more. For example, that we're quickly entering an era where you'll be able to give an agent a name. You'll be able to interact with it as an employee. So,
Interesting.
Andrew could ask, the sales agent for an update on leads from a particular territory last month. And the sales agent will come back and give you an update. Then you can say, gosh, I really want you to learn this new technique. We adopted a new sales methodology inside the company, and the agent will be able to do that. And so, that's where I think autonomous agents really start to get interesting and exciting is when they get identities, when they start to use tools, just like us humans use tools. And we're quickly moving into that world. It's a really interesting time.
Yeah, and we found as well when you get into the agent conversation, the ROI and the business cases climb dramatically versus just traditional chat or LLM for
Yeah.
sure. So, yeah, very
Yeah.
exciting. And forgive me because I'm reading my list of questions, of course. But one of the other ones was, according to the Work Trend Index, around 82% of leaders expect to really dive into this agent world quite soon. What do you think is driving that urgency out there?
Yeah, there's two things. The first is, business leaders are always looking for ways to do things at lower cost. They're looking for
Mm,
ways to take out costs where they can. That has a nice benefit of enabling people to, stop doing things that probably didn't add a lot of value before. It takes the
right.
drudgery out of work and enables us to lift up what we're doing. So that's certainly a motivation is being able to take out costs and enable employees to do more, kind of to grow and take on higher value activities. The other big one that I'm seeing is actually capacity. There's quite an opportunity to use agents to add capacity to a business that didn't exist before. Now, let me give you an example. Today, even inside a company like Microsoft, we don't have capacity to go after every sales lead that comes in the door. Like we just don't. And so that means a lot of leads sit dormant and we don't have somebody follow up on them at all. But in a world of intelligence on tap, where you've got intelligence that's infinitely scalable and relatively low cost, I can hand every one of those leads to an agent and have that agent autonomously follow up and either realize that the
Mm.
lead really didn't generate anything or that the lead actually turns into an opportunity that a human seller could go pursue. So I think those are the two, key use cases today for business leaders, looking for ways to take out costs and looking for ways to add capacity to their business.
Well, and to your point, a lot of business leaders initially think of AI as taking out costs, but there's actually, to your point, a very strong revenue opportunity as well. In that
Yeah.
context to sales, you think about how we used to just set a workflow to email somebody. If they didn't do anything after 3 tries, move them to a nurture queue or something. But now it can actually respond in a meaningful way and almost, to your point, behave like it's us at the end of the day. So there's a lot of power in that and a lot of scale for sure. For sure.
Yeah, yeah, and in fact, I'd say I think certainly the more transformational opportunity for a business leader is to think about how you'd add capacity where you lack capacity today.
Right.
That's the real big unlock.
No, for sure, for sure. A couple other things. What are the key benefits of structuring around on-demand intelligence and human AI collaboration for customers?
Yeah. Well, AI is going to change the way we work inside our workplaces. There's no doubt
Mm,
about that. And sometimes we talk about a couple different structural changes, inside the organization. This idea of moving from org charts to work charts is kind of a profound concept, which is,
mm,
sure, you think about the traditional org chart, usually we're organized by function and kind of operate mostly within those functions. There's some cross teamwork, but that's typically how most companies run their business. But in this world of AI, we think it becomes more of a work chart where it's less about functions and it's more about these things coming together
mm,
and working across on projects versus sort of always being focused on a function. Sometimes we'll call that the Hollywood model. If you think about the way a movie gets made in Hollywood, oftentimes it's a bunch of almost independent contractors that come together for a
mm.
particular project. Think of that as like kind of the work chart.
Okay.
Um, and they each bring a specialty, they deliver it for that need, and then they sort of dissolve once that movie, in that case, is made, and they move on to new things. And I think something very similar is
Mm,
likely to happen in the workplace. The other, I'd say, structural change is we very much believe in this idea that every one of us is going to need to become a great agent boss.
right.
Agent boss. And, just like human managers need to be awesome at delegating tasks and
Mm,
resolving conflict and managing time frames, every one of us is going to have to do that, likely with a mix of human employees and then agents. And so this new
yeah.
skill set of being an agent boss is going to be more important than ever.
And what industries would you say are kind of leading this charge today?
Yeah. Well, I've seen pretty widespread interest across industries.
Mm,
Interestingly, I've seen a lot of traction in financial services. I've certainly seen growth in manufacturing and retail, consumer goods. I mean, it's really widespread. And of course, technology is really
yeah.
widespread. In fact, I'll be honest, I haven't met a business leader that no matter the industry, that has not been interested in figuring out how to use AI to sort of transform their business. Within a company, I will say there's some functions that seem to be early adopters of AI, though. And I've sort of named these a few times as we've gone through, but just to be clear, every function will be able to use AI and get a lot of value from it. You saw that from our own side. But customer service,
Hmm.
sales, finance seem to be the three that are kind of most aggressive right now in using AI to transform their businesses.
Yeah, and even internally for us, I mean, we've significantly leveraged it in Dynamics 365 customer service, and a lot of the ways you showed here, marketing as well has been a huge leap forward for us in leveraging AI.
Yeah, that's great.
So, do you have? I'm sure you do, of course. Some examples of some organizations that have kind of made this leap and applied these models.
Yeah, well, we certainly do. I mean, Microsoft, as I mentioned, we've eaten our own dog food
Mm,
and had some excellent success ourselves. We have customers all over the globe that are deploying AI in some interesting ways. But one I thought I'd mention that I think is a neat example, I think is a joint customer, and it's Sapphire Gas Solutions.
mhm.
They use Business Central. Today, they're a US based energy company. They're in Texas. And they've been able to streamline their operations and cut their month end close time by 80%, which is a pretty neat story on the kind of value that customers can see as they start to embark on this journey.
Yeah, no, appreciate that because yeah, we're very proud of that project here internally. So yeah, that's a good one. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
So, switching subjects a little bit as we kind of wrap up here, how is Microsoft helping organizations become frontier firms? Because when you're at the kind of front end of the bell curve, that can be somewhat of a scary area, right?
Yeah, certainly. There's three things I'd highlight. The first is, we want to give our customers the tools that they need to embark on this frontier. We talked about that, frontier toolkit that
Hmm.
spans everything from the co-pilot and agent building capabilities, even into the agentic biz apps. And I think that's like step one, as you'd probably expect. Step two, though, customers do want to know where to start. Like, where do I
Right.
start? Because there's things are moving so fast, and so. We have guidance that we share with our customers on, what it looks like to be transformative in finance or sales or customer service. In fact, shortly we'll be publishing what we call the Frontier Playbook, which will give, more practical advice and guidance on, how customers can really move to the frontier and then adopt some of these patterns and, these functions that we're describing. And then third, it's really about nurturing partnerships. It's about having partners that can be boots on the ground, working with our customers, that understand their business and their industry, to help them be successful. And I think that's, really where, this comes together between us as, partners like you really make a difference. And it's the real key ingredient to making this all happen.
Yeah, and I think we've really been, as well as you just mentioned, trying to find those real world examples to put in front of customers, at the simplest level, not necessarily full blown agents or autonomous agents, but just to get their creative juices flowing, because we find everybody comes to the table with their preconceived notions of what AI can do, and that may be a little disconnected from reality in the beginning. So yeah, that's super helpful. That being said, as well, this concept of the Microsoft 365 Copilot being that single pane of glass, I think that actually simplifies the conversation dramatically. What makes that work, if you will?
Yeah. Well, again, in this world where we all become agent bosses and, we work with agents throughout our workday, you do need a pane of glass, let's say, to help you engage with those agents. And Microsoft 365 Copilot's really meant to be that pane of glass. It's where you can invoke agents. It's where you can discover new agents in our agent store. So you could easily find an agent to do a particular job. It's also where you can create custom agents, both as an information worker as well as,
Mhm.
an IT professional or even going all the way into professional developer. And so it's really meant to be this complete way into this world of agents, and it's where I recommend every customer get started.
Very cool. Very cool. And to that point, like you shared some pretty amazing stats there as far as how Microsoft has leveraged AI internally.
Yeah.
What lessons did you learn along that journey?
Yeah, the most important lesson that we learned is what I'll describe as tops down, bottoms up. And it's the idea that you really need both of those kind of forces to get the business results in any given project or any given function. As an example, we had some pretty impressive results in our sales organization, our customer service organization. That was a result of a tops down business leader saying, look, I want to make this happen. Here's the metric that I'm planning to watch. I'm willing to devote time and resources to make it happen, and then handing it over to a bottoms up team that ideates and iterates and grinds towards those goals. And when you combine those two things, like that's exactly what we did in every one of those functions,
Mm-hmm.
the result was pretty tremendous. If you're missing one of those ingredients, then you either
Right.
just have a vision or you've
Yeah,
got, folks that are sort of working without sort of a clear mandate, and neither of those land result in great outcome.
yeah, and as we roll out AI internally and of course help customers as well, what gets measured gets managed, right? And
Yeah,
just it's amazing how even with all this technology, it still comes down to quite honestly simple human behavior, just
yeah, yeah.
reinforcement and all that.
It's so
So
true. Yeah.
yeah, like nothing's changed. It's still it all comes down to human behavior, no matter the level of technology, right? So
But
that
but
means
but what I
go
say,
ahead.
sorry,
Yeah,
I just want to
yeah,
add one thing. That's absolutely right. In fact, my team calls me the metric man for that exact reason, because I'm so
love that.
dogmatic about measures and metrics because
Uh-huh.
I have that same belief. I would say there's a new thing happening too with AI, which is increasingly um, things that had been unmeasured or even unmeasurable will now start to be measured. And so as an information worker, the typical knowledge worker, you don't like, how do you know at the end of a day if you had a good day? I mean, if you're a salesperson, how many leads you followed up on or how much revenue you closed. If you're a customer support leader, kind of how many cases you handled and what the customer sat was. But like if you're kind of an average information worker, how do you know? Like, did you have a good day? And it's sort of this feeling, or it's this vibes. But I think AI is going to enable us to start to measure some of those things better and better. And it's going to add a lot of productivity to our life because we're going to be able to focus on really what matters.
Yeah, and right now, even we can go into our Microsoft 365 tenant and look at how many meetings we took minutes for, how many documents we pushed through M365 Copilot and generated, how many emails it helped us with. So, I was actually really surprised at the stats of the time that we're saving just doing, to your point earlier, just mundane, regular day tasks, right? So yeah,
Totally.
that's some amazing stats. So again, sincerely appreciate your time today, Bryan. What, looking ahead, what does the future look like in this AI powered world?
Well, I'll tell you, I think it's really exciting. We'll certainly be working side by side with agents. Each of us, I think, will have more responsibility than we've probably ever had before. Um, the world is only getting faster.
Mhm.
Decisions are going to need to be made faster, and so the stakes get bigger. But I think that's really where leaders can shine, where business leaders can understand how to translate that into more money, better top lines, better P&Ls. And so I'm quite optimistic for what the future holds. It's going to be an exciting few years.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely an exciting time to be alive for sure. So again, Bryan, sincerely, thanks for joining all of us today. And to all of you watching, stay tuned for all of our sessions to come. Thank you.